Okay, are we ready? Hello, I'm Helen Machuga. Welcome to Livermore Indivisible's mini Alameda County Education Forum. Mini, because we put this together quickly after realizing that not only that most of us didn't know about these jobs a year ago, 2 years ago, had no idea what they did, and we still don't. So we know they're important. The superintendent county board deal with a lot of money. They impact our students. And so it's very important, and we need to be informed voters so we know what to look for in a candidate and to vote smartly. So we encourage you to listen to the candidates and do your own research before you determine your vote. We've asked the candidates if they're willing to answer questions that were not asked that are not going to be asked during the forum. And if they are willing to do so, if they add an appropriate email in the chat for the audience to use to email them later on. And so candidates, if you would do that sometime this evening. Unfortunately, the incumbent county superintendent of schools was unavailable for the 3 possible forum dates. Fortunately, her challenger, Elise Castro, was able to accept our invitation, and we're glad you're here. Our format is therefore normal because only one candidate is present. I'm going to begin by reading, and because there's no way I can paraphrase this, the official description of the Alameda County Office of Education, the ACOE, and the job description of the superintendent. Then Ms. Castro will have up to 3 minutes to tell us about her background, qualifications, and why she is running for office. This will be followed by questions intended to discover more about Ms. Castro and the superintendent position, with answers of about 2 minutes. Finally, Ms. Castro will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. Then we will move on to the County Board of Education candidates. Okay, here goes. The Alameda County Office of Education, ACOE, led by the County Superintendent of Schools, serves as liaison between the California Department of Education and the 18 Alameda County public school districts. ACOE oversees district budgets and directly operates schools that serve Alameda County's most vulnerable students. For instance, court schools at the Juvenile Justice Center, community schools that serve foster youth, students in substance abuse treatment, and more. During the first of COVID relief funds were often given to the County Office of Education to distribute to the schools in their districts, and the ACOE worked with the County Health Department to determine safe reopening dates. So that's what the General County Education, Office of Education does. What does the superintendent do? And I'm sure this is just a small amount. The county superintendent is the chief administrator of the county's 58 counties, including Alameda. That person is elected. L.K. Monroe, the current Alameda County Superintendent, was elected in 2014 and re-elected in 2018 after running unopposed. This year, she has a challenger, Ms. Castro. The county superintendent role is governed by the state education code, which grants that person the responsibility of overseeing district budgets and visiting and reviewing schools. Every year, the superintendent and staff review school districts' interim budget reports and issue a rating of positive, qualified, or negative, based on whether the district has enough funding for the current year and subsequent years. If a district faces financial instability, the county superintendent can implement stricter oversight and pressure district leaders to address budget deficits. And I believe Oakland is in something of a problem right now. And I just think I remember reading that somewhere. All right. So Ms. Castro, if you would like to start, why are you running? What are your qualifications, your background?
Okay, thank you so much, everybody, for putting this together and for coming out to learn about what I call the most important education job that absolutely no one has ever heard of. So I'm Elise Castro. I am 26 years as a public school educator. I've been a middle school and high school teacher. I've been a principal mostly of continuation and alternative schools. I have taught school resource and finance at UC Berkeley in the Graduate School of Education for a number of years, and I currently operate the county school system for San Francisco County. As Helen mentioned, because basically they've already fallen out of the school district. So that's juvenile hall, boys ranch, expelled youth, and dropout recovery and prevention programs, as well as pregnant and parenting teams. It's a whole bunch of small schools for very high needs kids. I have a motto when I went into educational leadership. My motto is that my job is to make your job possible. That's what I'm here for. I am here because the job of teaching, the job of learning, the jobs in education are hard, and they are darn near impossible currently. And it is my job to make your job possible. And that motto is really like a sound motto for a county office in general, because a county office is a safety net. It's an extra layer of protection that is there to catch kids who are falling out of districts, like because they're detained or expelled, but it's also there to catch educators and whole schools and even whole school districts when they are struggling and when they are in danger of falling out. And it's that approach of support and that history of being effective in support that is why I am supported by teachers. So I am currently supported by the California Teachers Association, including the Alameda County Teachers Association, including Pleasanton, Dublin, Oakland, Hayward, Fremont, every district in Alameda County, as well as California School Employees Association, as well as the Labor Council. Folks who understand that this job needs to be about support are looking to me to provide that higher level of support. And the reason is that more support is available. We currently invest at least $25 million of school money into this office every year, and it is mostly being used on a compliance agenda. But what it can be used hall, but all the way into our high schools, our middle schools, our elementary schools, replacing police officers on campus with social workers, embedding partnerships with community-based agencies that do wellness and mental health, which is a huge priority and need for our kids coming back from pandemic right now, and to really recruit and retain educators, not just teachers, but teachers' aides, bus drivers, nutrition aides, everybody, to refill our very strained educator pipeline right now. And ultimately, to use the fiscal authority of the county superintendent to break the cycle of school closures that is hollowing out some of the neighborhoods that need schools most. So these are all things that are absolutely possible. These are things that can be done by a county office. I currently work in a county office, which gives me a lot of visibility into what other counties do. And most folks in Alameda County has just never seen a strong county office. They don't know what they can be asking from their county superintendent. And ultimately, like, I'm here because in the last few years, I have been opening programs, creating new supports, and we can do that same thing here in Alameda County.
Great, thank you. All right, so your first question, which I think you've touched on some already. Many voters have little or no understanding of the purpose of the County Office of Education. Why do you view it to be a critical organization in Alameda County? And what is the most beneficial relationship between the superintendent and the County Board of Education? So it's sort of a two-part question.
Yeah, okay. So the purpose of any county office is really threefold. It's to actually superintend the schools for the kids in the county system, so those highest needs kids. And that's really the only time when the county across the whole county. So it's a very small school system that the county superintendent runs. The other thing is to supervise and approve the budgets and accountability plans of all 18 districts across the county, which is a pretty technical role because that's governed by ed code, though again, it can be done in a compliance modality or it can be done in a partnership modality. And then the third thing is to provide assistance to those districts. One of the things about the county superintendent's role is that funding that comes to the county superintendent is pretty much unrestricted. So they can spend it on whatever they believe the districts in their county need, which is one of the big reasons why it matters what the skills and experiences of your county superintendent are, because they really do get to choose. So in terms of what is the most beneficial relationship between the county superintendent and the county board, I'm going to step back a little bit. Trivia fact, in all the school districts that you've ever lived with in your whole life, you elect the board and then the board chooses their superintendent. At the county, it works totally differently. You elect the board, the superintendent is separately elected. They have completely different responsibilities under the ed code. So there's actually very few things they have to work together on. But the ideal relationship, the beneficial relationship, is obviously one of partnership and accountability, because the county superintendent doesn't have a lot of accountability. They're supposed to be accountable to the public, but the public would have to know what they're doing. I was at our last county board meeting and there were a lot of questions about the fact that the current county superintendent has authorized COVID stipends for the highest level managers in the organization of $20,000, but not offered stipends to the teachers and the frontline CSEA employees of anything like that amount, like $1,200. And so the county board is asking for that information, but they're having trouble actually there. So the ideal oversight, the ideal relationship is one of mutual trust, sharing of information, and accountability to actually support the districts and the teachers and the employees.
Okay, thank you. Now we understand a bit more about that relationship. Number two, what do you believe the ACOE does well now and what needs to be improved?
So some things the ACOE does well currently, in my opinion, is that they have opened some community schools. So that's schools for highest risk youth, expelled, foster and probation referred, that are inside of community-based agencies. So that is probably the strongest program that I think they're offering currently. Unfortunately, they did close their full-time school for expelled youth, but staying on the positive, that is one very strong thing which should be kept and grown. They have gone through the process of becoming authorized to do teacher credentialing, which is a very lengthy process. So they're currently processing a very small number of teachers, but they've gotten that infrastructure in place, and that's going to be incredibly useful. And then they're actually very strong on the technical side of budget and accountability compliance. That's where they put most of their effort right now. And that team knows what they're doing.
Okay, all right, great. And did you say what needs to be improved?
Not yet.
Okay.
So unfortunately, we run in Alameda County a totally minimalist county office of ed. So we don't currently offer a full-time school for expelled youth. We've cut our arts integration programs. We've cut our STEAM program. We've cut our robot. When the state wants to roll out new initiatives to districts, they don't usually offer them straight to districts. They turn to the counties and say, please write a grant for this. And there are literally millions of dollars in grant funds that most counties collect that we are not applying for nearly as many as we could. I think that the biggest thing that we need to expand at our county actually is to build out those services for the highest needs kids, not just the ones in the counties, but the ones that are currently in our districts, in part because they'll get better service through a program that specializes in that, but also to lighten the load for our districts, because districts are really overwhelmed right now. And if you ask any district what their single biggest expense right now is, they will all tell you it's special education. And counties are authorized to operate their own special education schools, and we don't choose to do that. but we could open them tomorrow. In fact, I was talking with a superintendent very near you quite recently. And I said, you know, what if we opened some programs for high-risk autistic kids, for kids with emotional disturbances? And instant response was, that's a really good idea. That would help the kids and save us a lot of money.
Okay. So thank you. Thank you. All right. This is something that we've all been questioning too. What is your view on the role of charter schools in our county education system? And how do you propose ensuring financial and academic oversight of them?
Sorry, there's like a huge glare behind me. I'm going to try not to blind y'all.
Yeah, I think I've got them too.
So I am old enough to remember when charter schools were a brand new idea. And the idea was we were going to create 10 of these little schools that were like laboratory experiments, and then feed that information back into the system. And if that's what we were actually doing with charter schools, I would probably support it. But what's happened right now is that that entire premise is built on the idea that charter schools have to be subsidized by district schools to survive. And so we have a situation now where we have two competing school systems, both underfunded, fighting with each other over the crumbs and further destabilizing an already unstable system. The way I see it, public schools are infrastructure, and they're infrastructure for equity. And you can't create a set of winners and losers if you want a set of schools that works for everybody. So charters are not the answer. They are, however, part of the legislative solution here in California for the last 20 years. It's taken us a long time to dig this hole this deep. It's going to take us a while to dig back out of it. Part of the issue with charters is that their fiscal oversight is uneven, to say the least. It is one of the things that troubles me, is that the county superintendent's office is responsible for fiscal oversight of districts, but does not seem to hold the same level of fiscal accountability to the charters, especially not the charters that are actually authorized by the county. Because this group is real nerdy, I'm going to be clear that it is not the role of the county superintendent to authorize charters. That role lives with the county board, but the county superintendent staffs that board for that responsibility and helps make visible what those choices are and what their financial trade-offs are.
Okay, thank you. All right. What could be done in the Alameda County Board of Education run schools to better improve the students' chances for
question? Is somebody running a timer?
I'm sort of doing
okay,
it on my.
You'll tell me if
you've been doing pretty well.
Okay, good. Because this is my area of passion, so I will probably talk too much about this, so cut me off. So there are best practices for alternative ed. That if you try to take a group of students who have not been successful in another school and just reproduce that same school but smaller, well, what you'll get is the same lack of success with fewer people in the room. That what we need to be doing is really embracing personalized learning, because all of our young people in the county schools come to us at very different points, very different academic skill levels, very different credit earning levels, and they have really intense social emotional needs that have to be addressed in school as well. Like one of the questions I sometimes ask when I'm working with the faculty is, if we waved a magic wand and made all of these students at grade level tomorrow, could they return and be successful at a traditional high school? And the answer is always no. So embedding the other things that young people need to learn in school as part of the curriculum, personalizing it, making it project-based, making it all about hands-on learners, debate-focused, so that young people who have not thrived in a completely reading, writing, and suppression environment have a whole level of engagement, and multiple paths in, and all the support, both social, emotional, and academic, to grow slowly back to people who are comfortable learners and people who have those confidences and competencies.
Okay, you did great. There are a couple of questions in the chat. That one is rather long. Please remember, if you do emails in the chat, so you can ask them questions that might not be able to be asked now. Okay, let's ask. All right, I have to read this because it's acronyms. Okay, EC versus PC.
John to just define EC and PC before.
Yes, that one. Yeah, John.
Yep, I'm here. So EC is educational code, PC is penal code.
Okay. So there are many discrepancies between the two. Law enforcement has no training on the educational code, only the penal code, right? Consequently, students are often charged under a PC, whereas the EC takes the stance these are developing minds. What is your position on the differences between the education code and the penal code? And what would you do to make sure the EC is the rule of the land in all districts?
So absolutely. And I mean, this is, again, I've been working for most of the last 20 years with kids who have been expelled, usually for violence issues. So it's not like their conflicts and their histories are unknown to us. But in our schools, we don't actually have police. We have very few fights. We have very few incidents because we have structured the environment around not just the concept that they're developing minds, but that they're developing people who need support. And ultimately, I believe deeply that safety comes from support. It comes from having a social worker, like in our schools for expelled youth and kids just coming off of probation, we have a social worker or a counselor literally inside every classroom acting as a co-teacher because we know that level of need is present. But having wellness centers, school-based health centers have to replace the need to engage penal code responses with not just education code responses, but with actual education and developing of young minds. In my other world, I volunteer as the president of the board of Alameda Family Services, which here in the city of Alameda, where I live, operates our Head Start, all of our school-based health centers, and free and low-cost mental health, and also is the partner with our fire department in our new program that diverts 911 calls from going to police. So all 911 calls now go for mental health issues now go to fire and one of our Alameda Family Services clinicians. And these are the kinds of services that, if they are in place, really effectively ensure that kids get the support that they need and get diverted. In terms of making it the rule of the land, the Ed Code actually already limits a great deal when the penal code should be invoked. I think that probably the most effective strategy for changing the minds of local boards is to both demonstrate models that work and actually make those models available to them, have those partnerships available so that they can contract in for a reasonable sum of money without having to do all of their own learning about how these systems work.
Okay, thank you very much. So remember, Eric, we're going to end this portion right now, and thank you very much, Ms. Castro. And Karen will take over, but first I want to remind you the emails are in the chat. You can scroll up if you came in late and ask your question. So Karen.
Thank you, Helen. And I'm going to give a short overview of my interpretation of what the Alameda County Board of Education actually does. The main objective of the Alameda County Board of Education, as indicated on their website, is to work with the county superintendent of schools to establish the direction and priorities for the Alameda County Office of Education. Some general duties of the County Board of Education are established in the California Education Code. These include, but are not limited to, approving the county superintendent's budget, reviewing interim financial reports and the annual audit, approving the salary of the county superintendent, serving as an appeals body for student expulsions, inter-district transfers, and district charter school petition denials and non-renewals. They also adopt courses of study for some programs and evaluate program effectiveness. They approve and oversee charter schools that the board has authorized. And they adopt rules and regulations for the board's own governance. The Alameda County Board of Education has 7 trustees, each representing a different area of the county. Area 7 represents Livermore, Dublin, Pleasanton, and Sunol, and a small school near Mountain House. The trustees serve 4-year terms, and elections take place every 2 years. The trustees for areas 1, 4, and 7 are up for election this year, and the other 4 seats will be up for election in 2024. Area 7 trustee Yvonne Serrato is not running. The candidates running for Area 7 are Cheryl Cook-Callio, Kate Dow, and Eric Dilley. We are fortunate to have 2 of the 3 candidates at our forum, Cheryl Cook-Callio and Kate Dow. Unfortunately, Eric Dilley had an unexpected and unavoidable conflict and cannot attend. I will begin by asking our 2 attending candidates to provide their opening statements of approximately 3 minutes to tell us about themselves and why they are running for Area 7 trustee. This will be followed by questions where the candidates each have 2 minutes to answer. And finally, the candidates will give their closing statements. I will alternate who goes or is questioned first. For the opening statements, Ms. Cook-Callio will go first, followed by Ms. Dow. Ms.
Okay,
Cook-Callio?
thank you very much. I hope everybody can hear me. And just as a point of order, if you came in late, we probably need to repeat our email and our websites because you can't access something that was posted prior to you coming on. So I went ahead and put mine in the chat again. I really appreciate you all having me. I know this took a lot of work, and I appreciate Livermore Indivisible and the profound effort that you all make to make sure that people are informed. I grew up in Alameda County. The only time that I lived outside the county is when I was going to language school in Mexico and when I was in college. I actually taught for 40 years in the community in which I grew up, which is really it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to be able to do. I have taught Spanish, I've taught drama, I've taught English, I've taught social studies, but my love and advanced placement in government, we the people. I loved my job. I loved every minute of it, and I love government. And so part of what I did from the time that I became eligible to vote at 18 was to encourage others and educate others in the policies and the process of government and how to vote and why you should vote and becoming informed. So this whole thing is very dear to my heart. I have a BA degree in history. I have a master's degree in United States history with an emphasis on the US Constitution. I hold 3 teaching credentials, and I have done a number of administrative and other types of jobs, not only in teaching, but also in the community as a community activist. I was on the Pleasanton City Council from 2006 to 2014, which gave me another peek in terms of how a government budget works. So I saw it at the local school level, I saw it at the city level, and I hope to be honored with being able to see it at the county level. And I think understanding budgets is really important. It's interesting because I have a long history both at the state level and at the national level as being someone who is a civic education expert. I would often get people to call me and ask me, would you run for this? Would you run for that? That's how I ended up on the city council. And this is what I do when somebody asks. I think about whether or not I could be effective. I have a lot of time. I do a lot of volunteer work. And when I was asked this time numerous times, I sat down and made a list and I thought, this job has my name on it. I'm very fortunate to have a very strong relationship with a lot of electeds in the area, which didn't come necessarily from me being an elected, but from me contacting them on behalf of my students or encouraging my students to contact them when I was in the classroom. That was my 3 minutes. And so basically I'm wanting to run because I think I'll be effective, and I think I'll be the best person for the job.
Thank you. Ms. Dow?
Thank you, Karen, and thank you, Livermore Indivisible, for having me today. My name is Kate Dow, and I'm running for the board position because I am a parent of 3 school-age kiddos. I have 1 in high school and 2 in middle school. And we've been through the gamut of different educational environments through the years, starting with public school, going to private school, back to public school. And as a parent, I know what I want for that our kids get what they deserve. As an educator and having founded a small micro school, for the past 5 years, I have been working and looking for innovative ways to serve our students and our families. We've implemented numerous e-learning tools and platforms that allows our students to study at their own pace and rate. We've introduced and integrated so many different hands-on project-based programs into our curriculum that allows them to do really cool things like building rockets, coding and programming robots, creating their own businesses by learning entrepreneurship, and being involved in the arts, learning how to sew. These are all really important things to provide for our students because the students will be interested and they'll have fun. And when that happens, learning becomes natural and it's very organic. Also, as an educator, I work alongside teachers and administrators to help balance and manage the budget, introduce and improve on our dynamic curriculum, also making sure that our parents and our communities are involved in all of our plans. So our priority is always on the students, and we feel that when our students are happy, they're able to learn and they're able to grow in a healthy manner. And then lastly, I'm also a business owner who has run a successful after-school learning program for the past 16 years. We help students in grades K through 12 improve in their math, their reading, their writing skills by meeting the students where they're at, not based on their grade or their age. So we customize an individual academic plan for each of our students to make sure that they master the work before they move on to the next level. So with all of my experiences as a mother, as an educator, and as a business owner, I have learned that all of our students are really different and unique, and they have different needs. And so it's really up to us as the adults to come together and work collaboratively to find solutions to help our young people prepare for the future, whether it be in college or for life in as a working adult. Because I know we can provide a very equitable, world-class education for all of our students, no matter where they grew up or where they came from. And that's the reason why I'm running for the Board of Education.
Thank you, Ms. Dow. Now, you recognize several of these questions from our previous set of questions, and we're going to repeat the first one, where many voters have little or no understanding of the purpose of the County Board of Education. Why do you view the board to be an important organization to Alameda County, and what is the most beneficial relationship between the superintendent and the Board of Education? And this question would go to Ms. Dow first, and approximately 2 minutes.
Okay, so I'm going to be honest with you. I am one of those people who didn't know too much about the Board of Education seat until in the last couple of years running our school. And I would say that it's very important for the Board of Education and the superintendent to work collaboratively because there are so many things integrated together. As you mentioned earlier, we're working together on the budget. We're approving and monitoring the school district's budgets. We're reviewing accountability plans, operating the alternative schools, and providing support for professional development with teachers. So I feel that it's very, very important for us to work collaboratively so that we can do what's best for all of the districts. And the most important thing is to support our students and our teachers. So Karen, can you repeat the second set of questions?
Yes. What is the most beneficial?
Yeah, so I think if we work together and we're collaborative, then for sure, I think that we can find ways to create a budget that works for everyone who uses. I think it's important to get funding back into the classroom and fill the needs of the students and the teachers.
Thank you. Ms. Cook-Callio, do you like me to repeat that question?
Go ahead and read the question again. Yes, please.
Many voters have little or no understanding of the purpose of the County Board of Education. Why do you view the board to be an important organization to Alameda County? And what is the most beneficial relationship between the superintendent and the Board of Education?
I think that it is probably true that most people don't know what many elected boards do. And it is very hard to, even if you attend council meetings or you attend school board meetings, you go to the county board, you're stepping into a conversation that has already existed and sometimes for months. I think for that reason, whoever is your area representative needs to make sure they are a liaison, not only to the community, but to the local school districts. And so when something happens that, something came up that affected Pleasanton School District on a meeting about 3 or 4 times ago, I happened to mention it to the Superintendent Hagelin. He hadn't heard about it. It would be that person who represents that area's responsibility to say, this is coming up, we need more information. Is this something you're interested in? So that liaison to the community is very important because most people don't have time to dig deep into every agenda and to look at every budget and understand what that relationship is. Now, having said that, there needs to be a good communication relationship between not just the county superintendent, but also the staff. You rely on staff that are experts oftentimes in how budgets are constructed. Many times they may be experts in education code. It's almost impossible to know everything once you're elected, but you need to know who to ask. You need to know what questions to ask, and you need to make sure you've got that communication open with staff and the county superintendent so that that collaboration can happen. It's a very odd relationship between the county superintendent and the county board, but a collaborative relationship would help with governing the county schools, with making sure that the oversight for charters, our special ed kids are taken care of, making sure that that prison to pipeline isn't enlarged, that it's constricted. But that all relies on not only the representative being a good communicator with the community and what they need, but a good communicator with the other board members and a good communicator with the staff and the county superintendent.
Thank you. The next question goes to Ms. Cook-Callio. And it is, do you see a need for a change of direction or priorities in the Alameda County Board of Education?
I think that certainly an adjustment I would like to see. Because of my work statewide and because of my work specifically on the new state seal of civic engagement, which became available to all students last year, I have had the opportunity to visit county offices' websites. And I can see on those websites how easy it is for teachers, not just that are part of the county schools, but also the local school districts, can access information that's helpful to them, either how to access not just the state seal of civic engagement, but any other literacy seal or foreign language seal that's available. I would like to see the website that not only explains available professional development, but also is easily accessible to teachers. This isn't directed necessarily at the incumbent county superintendent. This happened 20 years ago. But when I first started teaching in Alameda County, you went to the county office of ed for all sorts of resources. There was a instructional materials lending library. There were subject matter specialists that regularly had professional development for teachers, teacher credentialing programs. I was happy to hear that they had started doing that again. But starting probably around 2000, those services just seemed to disappear, and they exist at other counties. So I don't know why. I mean, you don't know what you don't know till you get there. I don't know if it was a budgeting issue, whether they were choosing something more important over servicing the teachers. But if you're a regular ed teacher in this district and you're working in a local high school or middle school or elementary school, it's difficult to find services on that website. And I would like to see people use the county office as a resource. And at least if the answer is not there, a way to direct somebody to a correct answer.
Thank you. Ms. Dow, you're next. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Do you see a need for a change of direction or priorities in the Alameda County Board of Education?
Yeah, so I think that for me, the priorities would be to refocus on our teachers and our students. I know that attracting and retaining quality teachers are a challenge for us right now. There might be a lot of teacher turnovers in other schools. And so I want to make sure that we build, focus on building and retaining the talent pipeline that we have and recruit the teachers with competitive packages to keep them in our districts. And then I want to make sure that our spending is transparent, it's responsible, and ultimately benefits our students and our teachers in the classroom over administrative expenses. I know also from experience as a parent, sometimes in the past I have felt disconnected and didn't have the avenues to really share what I needed for my own children. So I would love to prioritize better relationships with families, with schools and the districts so that we can support our children. And also even create programs that will allow working parents to be able to have childcare for their kids, before and after schools or even during breaks, because a lot of our families are working long hours and through holidays and things like that. So parents really need more support, and I would prioritize those things.
Thank you. Now the next question is for Ms. Dow. What is your view on the role of charter schools in our county education system? How do you propose ensuring financial and academic oversight?
So I believe in a free, open enrollment, nonprofit charter schools can serve our community well, and that these schools, if they have a proper partnership with us, collaboration, and adequate accountability, and I believe that we need to require accountability and transparency from our charter schools and hold them to the strict standards of excellence like we do any school in our county. So I would support them, and I think that in general, honestly, I support any school if they're good. If it's a good public school, good private school, good charter schools, I would support them.
Thank you. Ms. Quick-Callio, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I think I have it.
Okay, thank you.
Charter schools, first of all, there are many paths for a student to get a good education. I mean, there's a different journey for each student. I think that public charter schools should be held accountable in the same way that any other public institution is held. Their budget should be transparent. We should know how much they're paying teachers. We should know how much they're paying administrators. We should know where the money goes, and we should know. You should be able to look up anything that you could on a normal school website, and that is not true of charters. Once a charter is approved, much of the transparency disappears, and I think that is bothersome. The other thing is the purpose of public education is to create participatory citizens. That's acknowledging that not every student is on the same path, but it is not just for the students, it's for the community, it's for the parents, it's to create a unifying factor in terms of how we understand the world around us. And I think that the role of charters, and there is a role at some level, is one when a charter presents something that's unique to the school district that doesn't exist anywhere else. I'll give you an example. There was a charter that I was aware of a number of years ago in Southern California called Rosie the Riveter Charter School. And what it did at that time, I'm not sure if it's still in existence, but it was a high school for young women who were interested in the trades. That makes sense to me because that doesn't exist anywhere else. But when you do what you've done in Oakland, which is part of the problem Oakland has, and that is put charter schools next to public schools, and the charter isn't producing better outcomes than the public school, you're draining public school children into something that is less transparent and less accountable than a public school. And I think that's a problem. And I think that one of the ways I think I could be effective is that I do a lot of conversations with people in the legislature policy, and some of those things need to be changed. I mean, when you have a bad actor in a charter community, that harms good charters, and it really harms the public schools in the area. And you often don't have the ability to do anything about it until the harm to the students and the families is so bad that they'll never get those years back. And some of you may have experienced that in our area. So I think that you have to be very careful about thinking that just because you have school choice, that you're getting a better school. I don't think that always is the case.
Thank you. The next question goes to Ms. Cook-Callio, and it is, what do you see as your most important role in supporting the efforts of the local districts, and what issues and advocacies for District 7 will you be bringing to the board? Please be specific.
Was that me or for Kate?
That is for you, Ms. Cook-Callio.
I beg your pardon. I'm sorry.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
We're playing ping pong back and forth.
I know. I just, in my head, I thought I just answered the question.
You
Okay,
did,
thank you very much.
You were at the end of the last one.
Right. I got it. I got it.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I think,
Okay.
no, I was listening to the question. I think that specifically that anything that comes up that affects the school children in your area, it's the board member's responsibility to contact the local districts where there's impact. I think that's extremely important, including if the name of a district happens to come up organically, is to make sure that somebody knows it's coming, because then it informs me as a board member in terms of how I might address that. The second thing I think that is extraordinarily important is that when you see the freight train coming, you want to tell somebody to get out of the way. I have been increasingly frustrated with school districts that are told that they're out of compliance. They know they're out of compliance. And so as a county board, and this may not be a specific role of the county board, but we certainly have a platform where we can pick up the phone and offer suggestions. We can see what kind of help they need. We can advocate for particular local school boards with entities that might be helpful, so that by the time you're in a situation where you watch you kind of circle the drain. And in education, very often people just kind of throw their hands up, and education policy is very difficult. The way we fund schools in the state is inequitable. Very often we are operating on a budget that was approved last year based on last year's attendance. So if your attendance goes up this year, you have less money than you need. If it goes down, you have more money, and you still have to account for that money because you can only spend what you're supposed to spend for the students that are in school. And that's a very simplistic way of looking at it. But I think it really is incumbent for that board member to say something, either as a county-wide comment, but certainly to pay attention to those school districts that are in the area in which I hope to represent.
Thank you. Ms. Dow, I will repeat the question.
Thank you.
What do you see as your most important role in supporting the efforts of the local districts? And what issues and advocacies for District 7 will you be bringing to the board? Please be specific.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I definitely agree with what Cheryl has said. I think that if there are any issues relating to any local school districts, I would work together to notify them and let them know what those issues are. And then in addition to that, I think, we're all in this for students to improve our educational environment for our kids, to improve the working environments for our staff, our teachers, our administrators. So I feel like we're all in it together. We're here for them. And so I would do everything I could to help with any issues that would come up. And furthermore, as a person, as a board member, I would come in and listen to the problems, listen to what the issues are. And I know together with the other 6 members who are on the board, we could come to find solutions for whatever those issues are. And if we can't find solutions for it, we can ask for help. So I would say come in, be a good listener, be a good collaborator, be a good friend to each other. And because we're all in this together. So I would help any of the local districts, anything that would impact the students, because we are here for the students.
Thank you. A question in the chat. This will be the final question. Describe a situation that you would handle differently if faced again. We call this our introspective question.
That's a tough one. Well, what I want to say is I don't necessarily have a concrete answer for that, but I will say that everything that I have done up to this point in my life, whether it be a mistake or something that I was embarrassed about or that happened, I don't regret it. So I don't know if I would do it differently because it's made me the person that I am. And I strongly believe in mistakes that you make in life. Those are learning opportunities. So I don't look at it as mistakes. And so going to that question, what would I do differently? I might not have done anything differently, because if you live your life with truth and respect and kindness, and you treat other people how you want to be treated, I definitely am very proud of who I am and where I am right now. So I would say probably I might not have any thing that I would change.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Cook-Callio,
Wow.
describe a situation that you would handle differently if faced again.
As a classroom teacher, one of the things that you hope is that you're that teacher for that kid, right? That you are the one that makes a difference in their life. I had a student once that had a C minus, excuse me, a C plus in my class. And I don't think I read the situation as well as I could have. The parents ended up, it was an AP class, the parents ended up suing me, which is unbelievable, because the kid didn't get a B. And, you know, I had a policy of student, in order to improve their writing, had to come in and sit down with me. And I would go over the things that they could improve. They could rewrite the paragraph and I would raise the grade. The child refused to come in to see me. She wanted to do it with her father, which we later found out he had been doing her homework. I don't regret the policy because I would let the kid rewrite the paragraph as many times as they wanted to recover the points. What I regret is misreading the situation because I think the kid was under a lot of pressure. And my feeling has always been that I don't have to be the smartest to help the child. And it caused the child a lot of stress. It caused me a lot of stress. It was, I mean, and to the point that it went to court. And of course, the parent, they ruled against the parents. But the sad thing is the kid had the embarrassment of having to sit through that. And I might have figured out a different way, maybe have her sit with me when the father was sitting with me. I still to this day feel for that child because I think that that her family situation was not apparent to me at the time. And I think she was under a lot of pressure to exceed or succeed in a college level class that she may not have been ready for in a situation where she was inundated with extracurricular activities. And, you know, I learned from that later in terms of how I couched things, but I've always, you know, I see her on Facebook every once in a while and I feel badly for her because I think it caused her undue stress. And, you know, it's not the grade, it's what happens to the kid. And I would do that differently.
Thank you. That concludes our questions. What we would like to do is to have 2 minutes of closing remarks, and we'll start with Ms. Cook-Callio.
Now, I started with my opening, so you want me to start with the close also?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right. Great. Okay. So again, you know, I chose to do this because I think I'd be effective at it. I think the skills that I have, not just because of my educational background, but my work in the government arena, nationally and state level, in terms of my advocacy for good education policy, and honestly, the work in the classroom. I think that being a teacher prepares you for an enormous amount of things in life in terms of being flexible and hardworking. I had 4 children go through schools in Alameda County, Sunol, Glen, Pleasanton, and Livermore. So I missed Dublin, but I tried. And so I have dealt with a number of different types of philosophies in terms of education, and I've dealt with different learning styles with my own children. And I think that made me a better teacher, but it also made me understanding of what parents might tell me. Very often, the most important thing you need to do for a parent, for an administrator, for someone who's in crisis, is just to listen to them before you say anything. I hope that you go to my website, which is www.cookcallio.com. I'd love if you would endorse me. There's a donate button. There's a follow Facebook. Thank you for the question in the chat. I'm happy to talk to you anytime and answer any questions that you might have that is specific to you or general to the entire county. And I really thank you for your time. This is so valuable, not only for me, it's important, but also for you all to hear the candidates and get a feel about how we work and what kind of elected officials we will be. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Dow, your closing remarks.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier in my opening introduction, I am a mom, first and foremost, to my 3 wonderful children. And, you know, I started on this journey with them wanting the best education. And so we started in the public school, we did the private school. And I want to share with you now that, you know, my kids struggled. They struggled in school. They weren't happy. And as a parent, I felt the need to research, figure out what I can do for them. And that led me to open and found my micro school now that we run in Livermore. And I tell you, a lot of families and friends thought I was crazy. They said, Kate, why are you doing this? This is, they never heard of anybody opening and finding their own school. But I felt that I needed to do this because I wanted my kids to learn to be independent. I wanted them to enjoy school and to be happy. And, so through this whole journey, that's where I learned about the individualized attention that kids need and how unique everyone is, and how project-based learning can really make that retention of education strong, and it's not about memorization. And so all of these things, and we're really lucky right now to be serving our other communities in lots of different cities and towns. We have students from Livermore, Dublin, Pleasanton, and then also from San Ramon and Fremont and Danville and Alamo. So we thought we're serving other counties too. And I just want other people to know that, as a mom, I went above and beyond for my kids. And as an educator, now we have so many families that we're serving, and I want to continue to provide and offer the best education for them. And I realize that we have been really lucky, and there are a lot of other kids who don't have access to this type of education, and that's why I'm running. I'm running because I want to make education more equitable for all of our students, not only in this county, but hopefully in the country. And I want to do that is to support our teachers, to support our schools, and to use the budget that we have for those priorities. That's why I'm running.
Thank you. I want to thank both of the candidates who came to this forum. Thank you, Ms. Cook-Callio, Ms. Dow. Thank you very much for participating.
Thank you.
That concludes the Board of Education portion of the forum, and I'd like to turn it back to Helen for some closing remarks.
Okay, my first closing remark is an apology to Elise Castro. I just realized we became involved in the PC versus EC question, and I totally forgot to give her closing remarks. Well, she was not feeling well and left a little bit early, so I can't get back to her, but we'll try to make up to her for that. We want to thank the candidates for joining us and shedding a lot of light on the county positions. I feel I've been to a college class now. I know so much more than I did before. We also want to thank our audience who sacrificed a portion of their Friday night to join us and to become more informed. Please do your research. This is for everyone. Visit the candidates' websites, attend meet and greet activities, watch forums. All of ours are on, oops, I think Elise just showed up. Anyway, just a minute, Elise. Attend meet and greet. Try to find out as much as you can about every candidate who's out there. All of our forums, our previous and this one, are recorded on YouTube and available. For the first time in years, we have several open positions in our county, as well as positions facing challengers that have been unchallenged for quite a while. So please consider your votes carefully. And can we go back to Elise just for a minute so I can give you closing remarks?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, everyone. I was double tasking away from the computer, obviously. So I really want to say thank you for spending your Friday night here, or for people who are watching this on video, for caring enough to follow up about this obscure but incredibly important office. And I do say that since most folks don't know anything about what their county office does, I really encourage you to look to the people who do and to California school employees who are asking for this change. The folks who work most closely with the office are asking for a new level of leadership. So we need to be there for them, and we need to give them that support. Thank you.
You're muted, Helen.
I just figured that out. It has to happen once every week. Thank you, Elise, and I'm sorry. As I said, I got involved in the PC versus EC question and totally forgot. Anyway, have a good evening, what is left of it. And again, consider your votes wisely, be informed voters.